Hello, uh, this is Yuki Watanabe. Uh, Today I would like to talk to you about Australian economy. This is the outline of my presentation. Uh, Firstly, basic introduction. Secondly, basic history of Australia. Thirdly, economic and political background. Fourth, trade patterns. Fifth, FDI. Sixth, population. And lastly, economic success and conclusion. My presentation will take about 30 minutes. If you have come, if you come up with some questions, please ask me at the end of my presentation. So let's begin with a basic introduction. Australia is geographically located in Oceania between the Indian Ocean and the South Pacific Ocean. Economically and geopolitically, it is also known to be in the Pacific region on similar time zones and logistically close to many major markets in Asia, such as Japan, Indonesia, Southeast Asia, South Korea, Eastern China, and New Zealand. Australia is the sixth largest country in the world by area. Being an island nation, it does not share any land borders with any other countries and has a coastline to 25,000 and 760 kilometers, the largest in the world. The country covers three time zones. Climatically, Australia is generally arid to semi-arid. Temperature in south, temperate in south and east, and tropical in north. This provides great diversity, such as in agricultural and tourism possibilities. Terrain is mostly low plateau with desert, fertile plain, and some highlands in southeast. The country's official language is English, which is known as Australian English. Due to its multicultural society, many other languages are also widely spoken, especially in main hub cities, including Greek, Italian, Mandarin Chinese, Arabic, former Slavic, former Yugoslavian Slavic, Spanish, Vietnamese, French, Turkish, Japanese, Hindi, among many other. Religion. Uh, Major religion in Australia is Christianity, about 52%. No religion is about 30% only after Christianity. Currency. Australian dollar is used in Australia. One Australian dollar equals 87.97 N. Futures. Australia is very rich in natural resources and one of the most economically prosperous countries in the world and has a small population relative to its vast land. Major cities in Australia are Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Canberra, which is known as capital, other main and fast-growing cities and secondary tier regional cities include Adelaide, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Hobart, Newcastle, Darwin, Wollongong, Geelong, and Fremantle. Next, I will talk about basic history of Australia. There are four major historical events in Australia history, as described. Pre-colonial history between 42,000 and 48,000 ago. Human habitation of the Australian continent is estimated to have begun because of migration of people by land bridges and thought sea crossing from what is now Southeast Asia. In the late 18th European settlement in the late 18th century, most indigenous Australians were hunter-gatherers with a complex oral culture and spiritual values based on reverence for the land and a belief in the dream time. Next, European arrival. In 6006, 1606, the first recorded European sighting of the Australian mainland and the first recorded European landfall on the Australian continent are attributed to the Dutch. In 1983, England sent a fleet of ships to establish a new penal colony in New South Wales. In 1828, the United Kingdom formally claimed the western part of Western Australia. Separate colonies were kept from part of New South Wales, South Australia in 1836, Victoria in 1851, and Queensland in 1859. Colonial expansion. In the early 1850s, gold rush began in Australia. In 1854, the Eureka Rebellion against mining license fees was an early expression of civil disobedience. Between 1855 and 1890, the six colonies individually gained responsible government, managing most of their own affairs while remaining part of a British Empire nationwide. On 1st January 1991, Federation of the Colonies was achieved after a decade of planning, consultation, and voting. In 1942, Australia received the Statute of Westminster from UK, which is an act of the Parliament of the United Kingdom, and a modified version of it, now domestic law within Australia and Canada. It has been repealed in New Zealand and implicitly in former Dominion that are no longer Commonwealth realms. Since the 1970s and following the abolition of the white Australian policy, immigration from Asia and elsewhere was also promoted. As a result, Australia's demography, culture, and self-image were transformed. In 1986, Australia could be independent of England in terms of a national parliament when Australian law was about to be enacted. Thirdly, I will talk to you about economic and political background. Australia is a constitutional sovereign country that Queen Elizabeth II is reigning. The Governor is General of the Commonwealth of Australia, is a representative in Australia of the Australian monarch. Voting rights and eligibility for election is compulsory voting over 18 years old. There are two major parties, coalition consisting of Liberal Party of Australia and National Party of Australia and the Australian Labour Party. Next, economic background. Total GDP, which is estimated in 2016, is 1.257 trillion US dollars. GDP per capita is 51,593 dollars, which is known as one of the highest score in the world. GDP growth rate in Australia averaged 0.86% from 1959 until 2017, reaching an all-time high of 4.40% in the first quarter of 1976 and a recorded low of minus 2.10% in the second quarter of 1974. Unemployment rate Australia's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate remained unchanged at 5.6% in June of 2017, from an upwardly revised 5.6% in May, and consistent with the market estimates. Unemployment rate in Australia averaged 6.9% from 1978 until 2017, reaching an all-time high of 11.2% in December of 1992 and a record low of 4% in February of 2008. Inflation rate. Consumer prices in Australia rose 1.9% through the year to the June quarter of 2017 from 2.1% in first quarter of 2017. The most significant price rises this quarter are medical and hospital services, about 44.1%, tobacco 1%, beer about 1%, and new dwelling purchase by owner-occupiers about 0.9%. Inflation rate in Australia averaged 5.07% from 1951 until 2017, reaching an all-time high of 23.9% in the fourth quarter of 1951 and a record low of minus 1.3% in the second quarter of 1962. Interest rate. The Reserve Bank of Australia left the cash rate unchanged at a record low of 1.5% during the meeting held on August 1st, as widely expected. Policymakers said the Australian economy is expected to grow at an annual rate of around 3% over the next couple of years, and inflation is estimated to pick up gradually as the economy strengthens. Interest rate in Australia averaged 4.69% from 1990 until 2017, reaching an all-time high of 70.5% in January of 1990 and a record low of 1.5% in August of 2016. Exports of goods and services from Australia surged 9% month on month to Australian dollars 32.78 billion in May of 2017, reversing from an 8% drop in April. Exports in Australia averaged about exporting in Australia averaged 10,200.46 Australian million dollars from 1971 until 2017, reaching an all-time high of about 34 Australian million dollars in December of 2016 and a record low of 435 Australian million dollars in October of 1971. Import of goods and services to Australia rose 1% month on month to Australian dollars 30.31 billion in May of 2017, following a 1.0% fall in the prior month. Imports in Australia averaged about 10,800 Australian million dollars from 1971 until 2017, reaching an all-time high of 3,335 Australian million dollars in September of 2015, and a record low of about 400 Australian million dollars in May of 1972. Net export is, according to national income identity, net export is net export equaled export minus imports, and net exports are also equal exports minus import equal saving minus investment. From this, and in May of 2017, net export is 32.78 Australian billion dollars, and minus imports is 30.31 Australian billion dollars, equal 2.47 Australian billion dollars surplus. This also means saving minus investment equals 2.47 Australian billion dollars. From this identity, saving in Australia is more than investment in Australia. Current account. Australia recorded a current account deficit of 3,108 Australian million dollars in quarter 1 of 2017, compared to a downwardly revised about 3,500 Australian million dollars deficit in fourth quarter of 2016. Current account in Australia averaged minus about 5,100.23 Australian million dollars from 1959 until 2017, reaching an all-time high to about 300 Australian million dollars in the fourth quarter from 1972, and a record low of minus about 23,000 Australian million dollars in the fourth quarter of 2015. Capital flows. Australia recorded a capital flow and financial account surplus of 3,693 Australian million dollars in the first quarter of 2017. Capital flow in Australia averaged about 5,100 Australian million dollars from 1915 until 2017, reaching an all-time high of 25,769 Australian million dollars in the fourth quarter of 2015, and a record low of minus 375 Australian million dollars in the fourth quarter of 1972. Fourth, I will talk to you about a trade pattern. Australia is a great trading nation with an open, competitive, diverse, and resilient economy. Australia is a major exporter of minerals and fuels, including iron ore and coal, as well as exporting many other goods and services, such as education and tourism, beef, wheat, dairy, and other agricultural products, as well as pharmaceuticals and biomedicine, among others. Meanwhile, imports provide Australians with access to a wide range of competitive priced products and services from around the world. Imports are also used by Australian business as input for the production of new goods and services. And according to figure, Australia has a tendency to import more manufactured goods than other goods, which means that Australia doesn't have much manufacturing except for local consumption. Australia's trade is increasingly directed toward Asia, no doubt heavily influenced by its geographical proximity and historical ties. The country's biggest two-way trading partner is China, followed by Japan, the US, Republic of Korea, Singapore, and the UK. Biggest exports are coal and iron ore, followed by education services, gold, and agricultural goods. Although this should remain, Australia also continues to take massive strides toward better diversifying trade exports, adapting to global conditions, and firmly establishing a sustainable economic future. Australia imports goods and services majorly from China and Japan, which produces relatively good quality of manufactured goods that Australia produces little. This tree map shows this tree map shows the share of countries that export coal briquettes. According to this tree map, Australia accounts for one third of all export of coal briquettes. This tree map shows the share of countries that export iron ore. According to this tree map, Australia accounts for half of all export of iron ore. As you can see, the map showing top 12 goods of export to other countries by Australia. Of the top 12 export markets in 2013, 10 were in the Asian region, and all were rated above investment grade. This means that Australia's trade with Asian countries are growing and crucial to both uh, Australia, Australia and Asian countries. Fifth, I will talk to you about foreign direct investment in Australia. Australia is one of the most leading countries in terms of foreign direct investment. The foreign direct investment destinations, companies from around the world have made the decision to invest in Australia and benefit from a sophisticated infrastructure, skilled workforce, political stability, and continued strong economic performance. Of course, Australia, the geographical position also makes it an ideal platform into Asia. This time zone cross over to both Europe and the Americas, making it an ideal location for global business interactions. Why do many other countries are likely to conduct foreign direct investment in Australia? There are some keys to Australia's being attractive to other countries about FDI. One is Australia is very rich in natural resources. Second one is there are number of talented labor force, and the third one is strong connected to Asian countries. In terms of one, which says Australia is very rich in natural resources. For many industries, natural resources such as iron ore and coal briquettes are essential to operate. However, Australia is somewhat away from other countries because it is located in Oceania. So, if industries in other countries want natural resources produced by Australia, some costs like cost of coordinating the shipment and communication costs arise. To avoid these costs caused by trade and make the best use of natural resources produced by Australia cheaply, many other countries are likely to do foreign direct investment in mining. For example, US and UK are somewhat away from Australia, but companies in those countries need natural resources produced in Australia to operate. If those companies import natural resources from Australia, cost of coordinating of shipment and communication costs are more or less allied, which causes the companies to have higher production costs and transportation costs. To solve this problem and lower the costs, Australia conducted FDI by many other countries in terms of raw materials. Another example is India. India, which can achieve fast economic growth, has conducted the FDI in Queensland in Australia to have a coal mine cheaply. As a result of this, India can obtain coal briquettes cheaply. In terms of second saying, there are a number of talented labor force. The, the Australian labor force is one of the most educated, skilled, multicultural, and multilingual in the world. Australia has the world's highest secondary education enrollment, has almost 40% of the workforce holding tertiary qualification or advanced diploma, and is expected to outperform many other developed countries for labor productivity growth in terms of GDP per person employed. And there are more than a quarter of Australia's labor force of 12.4 million people who was born overseas. Australia experiences an annual growth rate of 1.8% in terms of labor productivity, while unit labor costs have fallen by 0.5% each year. And finally, strong connected to Asian countries. Australia has very strong connection to Asian countries, which is now being said the fast growing countries in terms of FDI and trade, because the distance between Australia and Asian countries are relatively close. Foreign investment stock totals 2.6 Australian trillion dollars. Australia's inward foreign direct investment stock reached 630 Australian billion dollars in 2013, up to 40% from 2008 figures. The USA and the UK remain the strongest sources of FDI, but investment from Asia is increasing. How do firms in Asian countries conduct foreign direct investment in Australia, and what kind of investments do they